is Brazil, but in terms of area, Colombia has the highest diversity per square kilometer. So the highest concentration of diversity in the world is in our country. And actually, the place where we are in the north, we have two oceans, in case you didn't know. So here, Panama is separating the northern side of Colombia, which has the Caribbean Ocean, and the southern, like the more like the western side of Colombia that has the Pacific Ocean. So we have the pleasure and the fortune and privilege to have two different oceans, which are actually very different. And that also helps us a lot to have a higher diversity. So the Caribbean is very popular, but the Pacific coast is also very beautiful. We are located in the northern coast of the Pacific coast of Colombia. So here you see two different gulfs. You see the one you see here is called the Tribuga Gulf, which is in Colombia very popular because some things are happening there in terms of the government and things like that. But also there is in the northern side this gulf, which is called the Cupica Gulf. And that is where we are located and where we are going to travel right now. So if we get a little bit closer, and you're going to see it, here we have this gulf, and in the southern side, we have a bay. This is the bay, which is called the Solano Bay. And the municipality goes all the way from here to here. So from this part to this part. But we work mainly in this bay. So most of the pictures and videos you're going to see were recorded in this area here, right here. And where you see the pin, that is the town of Bahía Solano, which is also called the Mutis town. It's actually, the name is in honor to a very famous botanist that is called Álvaro Mutis, which was a Spanish that came to Latin America in the times of the Spanish conquer. And then he traveled all across America, and he made a lot of botanic collections which made very famous in terms of biological diversity this place. He made the first collections of the first botanic collections, and he's a very important character in our country. So this is the town. As you see, well, this town is big. Actually, well, it's big in terms of what we see in the Pacific coast, but it's actually very simple. That there are not even paved roads. They are just starting to pave the roads. So the Vallasolano has about 10,000 inhabitants. It's actually the second largest community, or the second largest human settlement in the Pacific coast of Colombia. The first one is Buenaventura, which is actually a city, but this is the second one, and it's actually not very big, but in terms of the Pacific coast, is big. So when people go there, they actually say, I'm going to the city, but it's actually a very, very small town. And it's also a very, very nice place. Sorry. So here you see the main town. Sorry, let take down that sound. So this is the main town, and one of the holidays of the town. That's why there's a lot of people. And as you can see, well, there is jungle all around, and there is a lot of people. People here is very festive. They like a lot to um, to party and to dance. So you're going to see all this, but I don't want to focus a lot in the main town. I want to focus in the beaches that surround all the place, just like this one. So this is the Mecana Beach, one of our favorites in Madre Agua. And this beach is very, very special. It's very long, as you're going to see. Very big. It has about 4 kilometers long. And in this beach, you just don't find a lot of people. It's very remote beach. It's about 20 minutes from the main town by boat. And most of the beaches and communities you find here in Vallasolano are like this, just isolated, and there is not a lot of people. There's not massive tourism in this area. So as you can see, also there is a lot of jungle, and it's basically the Chocó, this area of the world is considered the area of the world with the highest diversity, the highest concentration of diversity, and a high rate of what we call endemism. What endemism means is that there are a lot of species that only live in this place, that don't live anywhere else. So this makes this place very special. And why does that happen? Because it happens because there is a lot of water available in the place. As you're going to see, there are rivers all around. There are rivers in all the place. And also these rivers will give a lot of biodiversity. They create a jungle that is very dense and also that allows for the growth of a lot of species in the area and also a lot of communities, indigenous communities, and also Afro-descendant communities, African descendant communities. So as you can see, this beach is very dark, as Edwin was telling you, and it's like the color of the beaches always depend on the origin of the sand. So in the Caribbean, I guess if you haven't been there, you may have seen some pictures, and if you have been there, well, you know what I'm talking about. The sand is very, very light colored. It's almost white, and it's because this sand comes from corals, from the erosion of corals. The water just destroys these corals and makes it sand, and that is why that sand is very white. But this sand doesn't come from corals; it comes from volcanic rocks, because the most of the mountains you see are volcanic formations. So these mountains come from lava, volcano lava that was solidified and then destroyed by the water and created then the sand. Also, there are not a lot of corals in the place because there are a lot of rivers, just like this one. And these rivers carry with them a lot of organic sediments, which means that when it rains, all the water that from the rain washes the jungle, and then they get to the river, and then there's a lot of leaves and a lot of dead animals that get to the river and then become sediment. They just get in pieces and become sediment and then goes to the ocean. That's why the ocean is also very very dark. Is not There's not a very good visibilities because there is a lot of nutrients in the water, and then corals cannot thrive there a lot because the sun doesn't get to the bottom of the ocean. So that's why we don't have coral reefs like they have in the Caribbean coast of Colombia. So this place is very special. There's water running all around. When you go walk through a main road, or when you walk through the jungle, you will find waterfalls and rivers and creeks all around. So that makes this place also very special, and it's very rich in terms of water. And here you can see one of these waterfalls I'm talking to you about. This is the common name of this waterfall is the airport waterfall because it's very close to Bahía Solano's airport. But actually, I we prefer to call them with another name. We called it the waterfall, the waterfall, the flower of water. That's the name we gave it because we consider it better for this. Where they are swimming, there are 6 meters deep, and it's a very nice place. You can actually snorkel into this waterfall, which is just carved into the rocks, naturally carved into the rocks. And on top of the rocks, you have a lot of jungle. So it's a very spectacular place. Here you can see a part of it, only a part of it. And but there you can actually snorkel and see a lot of fishes and a lot of animals. So it's a very nice place also to visit. And as you can see, well, rivers are and water are the base of the communities in this place. Here, we have Andres. He's one of the children from the community, and all the children in the community have to move in these small canoes because there are no roads in the communities. There are roads only in the main town, but communities like this is the community of Mecana, and in the community there's only about 60 people in a very large area, so they move through the river. and they move us using these canoes. So when the children need to go to school, they use the canoes to go to school, and they are actually very good at, at driving these canoes.
Mhm.
So sorry, let me organize this. So as you can see, water just thrives everywhere, and this makes this place also very special. Also, it rains a lot, as you can see here in this picture. This is Joe. He's also another guy from the another child from the community. He comes from an Embera community, an indigenous community. Well, he has his ascendance is from Embera parents, and here, well, what Joe is doing, he was just bathing in the river, and then he got out, and it started to rain, and for some reason, Joe just took this chair to cover from the rain, even though he was already wet. So apparently, in Joe's thought, rainwater, like it's more wet than river water because he didn't want to get wet with rainwater. It's very particular the way they relate with nature, and this relationship comes every time with the water or through the water. So it's very interesting to see how these people learn to live in a very different way. They have a very different lifestyle. And also, well, this girl you see here, her name is Jamie. She's also from the community, and as you can see, what she's holding in her hand is a short tale she was writing, like one of the in one of the works we do with them, with the children. So it says the whale. The whale is lifting its tail. It's lifting its tail in the ocean. It's lifting its tail, and it's very happy. So as you can see, the whales are actually something that is transversal to everything in the place, because most of the tourism in this area moves through the whales. Most of the people visit this place because they want to know the whales, but when they get there, they find that there is a lot of things to see, way more than the whales. But I'm going to start talking about the whales, and the whales are a very important topic for the community, for the children, for the tourism, for everyone in this area. So that is very important for them. Whales are basically the base of the place. So we have the fortune to have, besides a very spectacular landscape, we have the presence of humpback whales. Humpback whales is only one of the about 14 species of whales, of baleen whales we have in the world, and they come to visit the Pacific coast of Colombia to breed and to mate, to give birth to their babies. What you can see here is a whale, and it's blowing, then lifting its tail. So what you can see here, like this spout, we call it the spout, and it's like smoke or a vape coming out of the water. And that's what we actually use to locate the whales from the distance. When we have good eyes, we can see this blow from about 5 kilometers away or 3 miles away. So we can locate them very easily when we are in the boats. So humpback whales come to this place to give birth to their babies, and also they come here to breed. So I'm going to explain you a little bit more about this later, but they come from Antarctica, from the southern hemisphere. We are a country in the northern hemisphere. Actually, these are the mammals that travel the longest distance in the world. They travel about 8,000 kilometers only to come here, and then 8,000 to come back to Antarctica. So that is very impressive about these whales. And they come here because there are very warm waters. The average temperature of the water when the whales are here is about 30 degrees centigrade, 30 Celsius degrees. So it's very warm, it's very hot. Actually, sometimes when you want to refresh yourself, getting in the water is not an option because it is hotter than outside. So it's like being in a having like a swimming pool, a warm swimming pool to get in. That's why whales come. And when they are in Antarctica, what they do is they are eating, they are feeding. So they eat there, they eat small shrimp that we call krill, and they eat it in in big quantities. A humpback whale, a single humpback whale, in a mouthful can eat about 200 kilograms of food. And in a day, they can eat as much as 1 ton of food. So that is very interesting about whales, and they come very close to shore in here. So as you can see, there is one guy around there looking at the whales. He's here, right here, and people just get and gather in the beach to see the whales. So whales are basically a show, a very, very nice show in the place, and you can see them very close to shore. Sometimes they look like they want to get into the jungle because the jungle here is so dense that get to the border of the ocean. And what you're seeing here is a baby. So I'm going to talk to you first a little bit about the babies, because mothers come to this place, and basically, especially this area where we work, is a bay. So it is protected from the winds and from the currents. It's very calm. So mothers like a lot to get in this place. They actually give birth in the place, and they spend some days, even some weeks, or about a month in the place with the baby, and they nurse the baby. The baby eats milk from the mother. They are the only whales that eat in this place. The adults don't eat anything at all. They are fasting. So they actually live only from their blubber, from the fat they have in their bodies. And for babies, well, this is a place like a sacred place, because here they can grow without predators, like in calm waters. And actually, they can grow a lot. A humpback whale baby can eat as much as 200 gallons of milk per day, which is a lot. And it helps them grow about 60 kilograms per day. So that is about 120 pounds in one single day. So it is very important for the whales to be in this place and to be unperturbed, because that's the place where babies are going to have their first growth, and also the landscape when you can see them, it is awesome. So babies are very curious animals. The babies, once they are born, they can weigh up to 800 kilograms, or 1,600 pounds, and they can be as long as 4 meters, only like newly born. So that is very special from these babies. And once they have grown a little bit, they get very curious. They start doing a lot of things because they get bored. They are just hanging around, and then they just start breaching and lifting their tails, and they are very curious. They sometimes approach our boats. When we approach them respectfully, the babies sometimes, when they feel comfortable, they can get close to us. They can actually spy on us and take a glimpse on what's happening out of the water. And this, what we are seeing in this video, is a baby. And I know it's very big, but you're going to see the mother later and to see how big the mother is. An adult humpback whale can be as big as 16 meters long, and they can weigh up to 40 tons. So that is impressive. They are one of the biggest animals in the world, and also the fattest animals in the world. So they are very special. These babies spend a lot of time here, and also, well, for the mothers, it's very important to encourage the babies to do things like this, because this is going to help them grow stronger, to help them get healthy muscles, strong muscles, so they can make their trip back to Antarctica in a good way. So they can be healthy enough and strong enough to travel 8,000 kilometers only swimming to get back to Antarctica and start learning how to eat and how to feed. So now here you can see the mother. So in terms of whales, we cannot recognize, like, it's not evident the sex of a whale. We know this is a female because it's with a baby, and only the females spend time with the babies. Like, they are always very close to their babies, so we know it's a female. But in terms of morphology and anatomy, it's very hard to tell a male from a female. We can only do that when we see the genital region, which is the only part that is different from males and in between males and females. So in here, well, babies do a lot of stuff, and whales in general, this species we call the humpback whale. I'm going to tell you why a little bit later. You are going to see the humpback of the humpback whale. And also, this is, as you can see, they have very big and wide pectoral fins. The pectoral fins are about a third of the body length. And here I'm going to show you the humpback. So if we see here, there is the back of the whale. And in most dolphin species, for example, we have a very acute dorsal fin. But in humpback whales, we always have this bump before the dorsal fin, which is the humpback, what we call the humpback. And it's only the humpback whale has this characteristic. So that's why we call them humpback whales. So this is the baby that we were actually seeing. As someone was recording this video, I was taking pictures, and this is one of the pictures I took of this baby breaching. As you can see, it's very big. This baby was like 6 meters, 7 meters long. It was what we call a yearling. It's a baby that was that had already about a year old. So what happens like with their life cycle is that when they are here, the mothers, like the females, come here between the months, and all the whales actually come here between the months of July and October. And in that time, they come here because it is winter in Antarctica. So you have been, I guess, in temperate regions. In winter, it is very hard to be there. And just like you, whales also like to come to summer in the tropics. So they come here because they can have a better time. And also we have nice people in Colombia and nice food. So they come here and the females reproduce. When they get pregnant, once they get pregnant, they go back to Antarctica and start feeding, eating a lot, and the baby starts developing inside their womb. And the next year, they come back and give birth. So it's basically the gestation period of the humpback whales is 1 year, between 11 and 12 months. So they can get pregnant here and then they give birth when they are back here. And also the maternal care, the time the mother takes care of the baby, is 1 year. So whenever they go back to Antarctica with the baby, then they come back here, and when they are here, they separate, and the baby has to make his life on his own. So it's not like some other cetaceans or some other marine mammals that have like maternal cares of 10 years or 5 years. For humpback whales, it's only 1 year. So, okay, so what? Oh, I have a bird just got into my pictures in the whales. But I'm going to keep talking about the whales. And it's not only mothers and babies that we can see here. We can only see other kinds of groups. For example, this group is a female and a male, and we knew that because when we were seeing them, they were exposing their genitals. So we could check actually the sex of these whales. They were a male and a female, and probably they were in a courtship behavior. So this is how they say, "Hey, beauty, how are you?" That is the way these whales actually flirt between each other, by showing their strength, by communicating with these behaviors. So also it is very interesting. You can see this is the big pectoral fin I was talking to you about. It's about a third of the body length. So only that pectoral fin is about 5 meters long. So it's huge. Actually, the scientific name of this humpback whale, of the humpback whales, is Megaptera. And mega means huge, and pteros means wings. So it's the whale with the big wings. That's the name we give them. I think it's a very beautiful name also because sometimes they look like as if they wanted to fly. These birds are just getting into my pictures. Okay, so here what I'm going to show you, another kind of group we can see. The ones we saw before were a couple of whales, but sometimes we can find very big groups of whales, especially the one we are going to see here. It's about 6 whales, or 7 adult whales. And what you're going to see is what we call a mating behavior or a hit run. Why a hit run? because these whales are actually fighting. In the heat runs, we usually have one female and the rest of the whales are males, and those males are going to fight for this female, right? So we call all these males, we call them escorts, and between them there is one escort that has like a special place beside the female, and he has like he's very close to the female. We call them the primary escort, and then the other ones are going to be secondary escorts because they are going to be wanting to fight with this primary escort to get this place, because at the end of the day the one that is closer to the female is going to be the one that is going to be able to copulate with her. So these males are going to challenge the primary escort and to fight with him, and sometimes these fights are very, very harsh. They never kill each other. So you're going to see this, and I left the audio so you can hear like the excitement of the people and how it feels to be in the water with these animals.
Uy, están agarradísimos. Están agarrados, de verdad.
Eso se llama Spy Hop. Está mirando qué pasa por encima, nos está viendo.
¿Quiénes son estos sapos aquí en el...
Ya dale pataditas.
Ni siquiera hablar.
Esto es un macho lo que acaba de pasar al lado, ¿vieron todas las cicatrices del lomo?
Sí.
Un macho muy adulto. Esos machos.
Ya las vi. Y las
Okay, so several things happen here. So as you saw, there are a lot of whales there were a lot of whales in the area. They were doing several things. Also, Mar, one of my partners, she was also talking. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of what she said. So she was, when the whale just lifted its head, she said, "This is a spy hop." A spy hop is a behavior when the whales get their heads out of the water to take a glimpse of what's happening outside, right? But I think this wasn't quite a spy hop. It was more like a behavior in which a whale wanted to be on top of another whale as a fighting behavior. So I'm going to show you more illustrative pictures about this later. Also, something she said is that, look at this male. He has a lot of scars in his back. So one of the ways we can identify, like, it's not 100% certain, but we can tell sometimes a male from a female. When we see a whale with a lot of scars, usually it's a male, because males fight a lot, so they accumulate scars on their backs. So no, it's about 70% accurate, but we can actually use that cue to identify in the group which one's the female, which one's the primary escort, and which ones are the challengers. So whenever we can do that, this becomes like a TV novel, but on leave, because we're saying like, okay, the female is going this way, this male is challenging this and this other male, they are fighting, they are doing this, they are doing that. So this makes the tours and also the experience like more meaningful, because you know what's happening, and also it gets you excited, because whenever you don't have any information, they are just whales, but they are more than whales because they are always doing something interesting. Okay, so that is also something very nice. Sometimes these groups get very close to us. As you see, the boat is not moving. We're just holding our place. And when the whales feel comfortable with us, they approach us. So that is one of the ways why one of the reasons why we always encourage ourselves and others to do responsible whale watchings, because when we are responsible with the whales, they feel more comfortable and they can actually approach us. So that is also something very nice that can happen and that we get very often in the tours. Mhm. Okay. Also, this is also a kid one, but in this case there was a female. This whitetail is this whale with the whitetail is a female. We knew because we took a picture, and I think this female was trying to call the attention of more males. Why is that? Because after she was tail slapping, more males arrived to the place and they started to fight for this female. And also, when I took a picture of the genital region, female whales have a bump in the genital region, and this bump in this female was very inflamed, which means also she had a very high charge of hormones in her body, and also she was a very big female. So most males, like, the fattest the female is, the more attractive it is for the males, because then it's going to be better to have children. So that is the sex appeal in the whales. The fattest you are, the more sexy you are. So that's what was happening with this female, and it's also very interesting. So we can see many things when we are with the whales. For example, this moment we found two whales. One of them was breaching and also slapping the water with its spectral fin, and then the other whale was a male, and we know it was a male because it was underwater singing. This is very rare. Usually we find whales singing when they are alone, but this time we found them together, and this
Está
male was
viniendo.
singing probably to this female. Probably this was a female. So it's very interesting to see. Actually, I can spend hours and hours just looking at the whales and trying to understand what they are doing and why they are doing what they are doing. So also sometimes when we are on board, like, impressive things happen, things we don't expect. Just like this, sometimes when we less expected, they breach. This is not saying that they always do this kind of stuff. Sometimes they just swim around and we can see them chilling. Sometimes we find mothers with babies and they are just chilling around nursing the baby. That's also something very nice to experience. For me, it's one of the best moments because then you have the opportunity to be with a female and a baby that are calm, that are just standing still, and that actually know you are there, but they don't feel threatened by you, and they develop actually their day-to-day behaviors, and that is one of the highest privileges I think you can have, to be beside a mother that is nursing her baby, because then that's seeing life actually as it's happening. That's something I always tell to people before going to the tours, is that we just need to have no expectations, because whales are wild and free and they just do whatever they want. So always seeing what a whale is doing is something amazing. So here I want to show you. Sometimes many people ask me, how do they actually fight? So here I have a sequence of pictures showing you a little bit of how they fight. So what we are seeing here is, on top, you can see a whale that is most probably a male. And down below, we see another whale that is also most probably a male. So this whale in the bottom was trying to come up and breathe. So what you see here is two holes, which we call the blowholes. And the blowholes are basically the nose that has adapted and changed and moved to the forehead. So as they are in the forehead, they just have to expose their forehead, exhale, inhale, and they don't have to leave their heads, and they can still see underwater while they are breathing. That is an adaptation that whales have to live in the ocean, right? So what's happening here is these males were part of a mating group or a hit run. They were fighting. And here we can see one of the strategies they use to actually fight. So this whale in the bottom came up to breathe, but before it could inhale, the other male just lifted its head and used all the weight of his body to push the other whale down. And as you can see, the other whale was trying to exhale, was exhaling, and it just wasted all the air it had. And the other whale, before it could inhale, just dropped him into the water. So this is basically a whale touchdown. In terms of fighters, this is a very interesting male, most probably a very experienced male that is using a very, very impressive strategy to exhaust his opponent. He doesn't want to kill him. He just wants him to go like, oh my God, I cannot breathe. I'm tired. I need to get out because if I don't, I won't be able to breathe. So this way, the whale that is exhausted has to leave the group in order to get his breath back, and the other male would be able to get the female. So that is one of the strategies they actually use to fight. So here I have come to the first part to finish the first part of the talk. So I would like to hear you guys to see what questions you have and what else you want to know. So I may have forgotten something to say. I have a lot of information about the whale. So if you want something I didn't tell, just let me know, and I will explain more deeply any topic. About the songs, I'm going to give you an overview of the songs later. So in that topic, we're going to cover it in a special section.
Thank you so much, Esteban, for showing us the whales. I am really impressed always when seeing these pictures of the males fighting. And thank you so much. So if you guys have questions, if you want to know more about the whales, you can text us in the Zoom chat, or you can open your mics, and will be nice to to solve your questions. Esteban, we have time, and well, if you have any questions, we can solve it. It was also nice to see the bird who was always with us.
Yes, yes.
While watching.
It was sneaking its way on the birds. It's just that I added some pictures of birds that I want to show you, and some of them just got in between the pictures of the whales.
Yeah, but that is also something you can see when watching whales. Some birds will fly around, and as you see in this picture, you see the jungle. You see this beach, like this wall of a jungle. So yeah, this is part of the experience of the whale watching. So, well, William, if you have questions in my WhatsApp, the ones who have me in WhatsApp. Jessica, welcome to this journey. You joined recently. If you also have questions, let us know. And well, Jessica is asking us, where are the most of the visitors? Where do they come from? The visitors to see this whale.
Okay. In our the visitors that come with us, they are half, like 50% of the visitors we have are local or national tourists from Colombia, and 50% are foreigners. From these foreigners, the most of them are from Germany and from France. So these two nationalities has like the highest representation on the people that come to us. After them, they are mostly Europeans. After them, also English people, also Spanish people from Belgium, from Portugal, some of them, and they just distribute in the other countries. But most of them, like more than half of the foreigners we have in our tours are from France or from Germany.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we have also from England as Maggie.
Yes, exactly. And
uh,
also we have a lot of people from Israel. Like recently, a lot of Israeli people is traveling and coming to also to Colombia. So we are getting each year we're getting a higher number of Israeli people visiting us.
well, I'm curious. I'm from Colombia. From which city would you say do they come the most?
In Colombia, from Medellin.
From
Yeah,
Medellin.
from Medellin because it's the closest city to the place. Like most people, for example, people from Cali usually go to the southern coast of Colombia, of the Pacific coast of Colombia, because it's closer. And they have a road to get there. So they, when they want to see whales, they just get their cars and go to see the whales. But in Medellin, the closest place is Bahía Solano and Nuquí. So a lot of people from Medellin travel to these places. And also after people from Medellin, we get people from Bogota. Also, although Bogota is a little bit further from the Pacific coast, but there's also a lot of people from Bogota visiting us.
Nice. Well, I also want to thank some people who support us to this tour but couldn't join us because well we talked to them recently. But yes, we will send this video to Oliver in the US, Carlos in Switzerland, Christine in Germany, nice friends, also Jost from the Netherlands, and Kimberly from Canada. Well, I want to say hello to them. I want to say hello to you when you see this video. Thank you so much for supporting us. And yes, it's good to remember some trips we have had with you before. And well, we will set more dates for more experiences like this. And I also wanna hear Maggie, if you want to tell us your experience because you saw the whales there, right? I wanna yeah, I wanna hear your experience.
Yeah. Okay. Difficult to describe. It was out of this world. We didn't know what to expect. We flew from Medellin to Bahía Solano. We had a lot of rain. We had a lot of good food, and we had a wonderful, wonderful day whale watching. We wanted to go and see the turtles being released on the beaches as well, but unfortunately that day the rain just did not stop. All day just rained and rained and rained, and so we read books. We loved it. We've travelled fairly extensively in Colombia, only on holiday, on vacation, and we've enjoyed every second of our travels. People are wonderful, the food is wonderful, the scenery is wonderful, but definitely the whale watching trip we had was, well, at my time of life, it was an awesome experience. It really was, and we'd like to come back and do it again.
Yes, excellent,
Absolutely.
and really welcome to come with us again.
I've got my little things.
Yes, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. So those are actually the souvenirs we give to
Yeah.
everyone that comes with us to our
Yeah.
tours. It's just so you can take the whales with you home. And I'm glad. It makes me really happy to see you still have them and that you actually appreciate them, because for us it's something very important. It's like
Yeah.
giving people something to take from the place and to remember that experience.
Yeah. Remember it and want to come back again. So we'll be back in a couple of years.
That's
So,
awesome. We'll be waiting for you there, also with the
okay. I'm
arms
sorry,
wide open.
guys. I've really enjoyed what you've done. I've got to go now because I have to go and cook Cena for mi familia. See?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, it
Thank
was
you so
perfect.
much. Let me know when you're doing it again because I will support you all the way. I love what you're doing.
Thank you
So,
very much.
okay, let me know when you're doing it again.
Okay, okay.
All right.
Either way,
Take
we
care.
still have like 1.5 hours to go. So if you want to reconnect whenever you finish,
Oh, yeah, okay.
we're
Yeah, you don't know how long it takes me to cook dinner, but
yeah. Okay, okay. So
take care. Thank you very much.
and say hi to your husband also and to your
Yeah,
family.
we'll do. He's out in the garden at the moment, so hey ho.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome, Maggie.
See you soon.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
bye bye. Yes, and I also have this souvenir from there. It's a really good, yeah, it's a really good well, llavero key. So, well, there is a question. There is another question. There is another question about the scars of the males.
Huh?
The scars of the males, like how do they do their scars?
Okay. Okay. So basically, whales in their bodies, they have. I'm going to go back to show you some of the things they have in their skin. So if you see right here, the whales in this area and in many parts of their bodies, they have parasites or they have animals living on top of them. So these are basically shells. Some of them are shells that are very strong. So what you can see here, those are small shells that grow in the skin of the whale. So whenever they rub each other or they rub against each other, they cut with these big shells. So that's how they get their scars.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Yeah, nice. And there is another question, like if they have a tough part in their bodies or something to harm the others.
Okay, so what they basically use is their weight. They don't have these shells. They are not considered parasites because the whales actually benefit from them, using them as weapons because they don't have claws, they don't have teeth, they don't have nails or horns, nothing to fight against others. But what they use is these shells that are on their bodies, and they actually use also the tails to tail slap each other and also to hit the others with their whole weight. That's basically what they use. They don't have like a special part of the body hardened in order to harm other whales.
Nice. Yeah, that's it for now. So let's continue to the next part, which is really, really cool as well.
Okay, so now I want to talk to you about a little bit about tourism and how we actually use tourism as a tool for conservation and as a tool for research and for sustainable tourism, sustainable economy, which means working with the communities, with the local communities, working with nature in a sustainable way. So I want to start with telling you why we are called Madre Agua. Madre Agua means the mother of the water, and it comes from a local myth, or a local legend that talks about a woman that um, protects the waters. So the myth goes this way. In case you don't know, well, in the Pacific coast of Colombia, well, in Colombia in general, we have a mixture of a lot of things. Like we were conquered by Spanish, and in that time when they came, there were a lot of indigenous communities, but they brought with them African people, black communities. They brought them as slaves. So we have the mixture of indigenous, European, and black, and all of that is uh, like mixing in the country. And in the Pacific coast of Colombia, we especially have a lot of black communities, and we have indigenous communities. So They have this story, and they say there were this Spanish guy that had a lot of land. It was a landlord that had a lot of slaves, a black slaves. So his daughter was very beautiful. This girl you're seeing in the picture, she's Mar, one of my partners. She depicts very well what I'm the woman I want to tell you about. Actually, she's Spanish. So in the story, this girl was a Spanish girl, and she fell in love with a black man, and they were like hiding to have their affair. But when her dad realized this, he killed the guy, and then he beat the woman who was pregnant, and she lost her baby. I know this is a very sad story. Most of the myths and legends from Colombia are sad because of our story, right? Like our story has a lot of historical violence, and that history is always depicted in the myths and the stories of every communities. So basically what happened is they say this woman was very sad and she drowned herself in a river, and then she became a spirit of the water. So they say they can actually see this woman, and they call her the mother of the water. And this woman just roams around, and sometimes they say sometimes she protects people, and she protects fishermen, and she helps them whenever they are lost in the sea. And they say also sometimes this woman can be very hard, and she can kill some people that is harming the water. So it's a very interesting story because it shows a lot their relationship with nature.
Pues voy a poner cuidado un rato de inglés.
So this woman just this spirit just roams around, and that is what one of the tales we have. And what the reason why basically we wanted to we are called Madre Agua is because we recognize that there is a very strong connection with the water. Like when you are there, water is everything, and to do everything you need to listen to water, because sometimes there is a lot of rain, you cannot go out. Sometimes the ocean is very calm, but sometimes the ocean is very harsh. Also, the tides change the landscape every day, several times a day. So what you see there is the river in the community, and the tide, the ocean tide is high, and then the water from the ocean gets inside the river, and the level of the river is very high, right? But when the tide is low, the level of the river is also very low. Here, the river is about 3 meters deep, 4 meters deep, but when the tides are low, the river is only a few centimeters deep. So you can see the landscape changes a lot. And actually, they live in these houses, this type of architecture, we call them paraphyletic architecture, and they live above the level of the ground because sometimes the river is just be in front of them. Sometimes the river floods. When the tide is too high, the river floods this area. So if they were in the level of the ground, the house would be flooded. So basically, sometimes you just get out of the house and look down and you're floating in the river. And that is very beautiful. It's a very particular landscape. This community where we work is called the Mecana community. There's about 60 people living there. And from them, like 18 or 19 are children. And it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful community. And it's very particular that they have different origins. In most of the Pacific coast of Colombia is inhabited by Black communities and indigenous communities, but they have their own lands. They don't mix usually. But in this community, something peculiar happens, and is that indigenous and Black people live together as one community. They mix together, they have children together, they form families, they play together. So the racism that exists actually in most of the places is not seen in this area. And it's not only about uh, between them, and also with us, but also with us, that we are like very different to what they are used to, but they receive every person with arms wide open, and they make you feel part of their community, which is for me something very special. So here we are seeing Argenis. I'm going to talk more about Argenis later. She's in the front of the boat, and in the back of the boat with the stick is Kunda, another woman from the community, and they are basically going down from the jungle after harvesting some plantains. And what they do is they cannot cultivate in the grounds close to their houses, because as it floods, the river always damages the crops. So they have their crops in the mountain, and when they cultivate or they harvest everything, they get it into these canoes and go down with the canoes full of plantains or full of corn or whatever they are taking, and they always distribute everything with the whole community. So if they go to hunt, because they also hunt wild animals like deers or wild pigs, so whenever they hunt, this animal becomes food for all the community, and they are self-sustainable. They get their own food. So right now, as like in this situation, they don't have economical income, but they have their basic food in there. They only need to go out to the ocean, fish, get their fish, or go harvest in the jungle or go hunt in the jungle. And the community is not having too much trouble in these moments because they can sustain themselves. They don't need someone else to look after their food. For some supplies, they do, like for oil or for salt or sugar or things like this, they do need like some products from outside. But in general, they have their basic needs covered. They have water, running water, drinkable water from the river and from the waterfalls that they can actually use to cook and to do everything. So that is very special from this place. They are independent. They can actually live life. If the world had an apocalypse, they would survive, surely survive, because they don't have a complex system in their community. It's very simple. They do everything they need. So that's very special from living there, because their relationship with community is very special. So here is the river with the high tide. As you can see, she is not standing into anything. It's like 3 meters deep. But as you see in this picture, the river is only a few centimeters deep because the tide is low. So whenever we are in the community, we always do the whale watching tour, and afterwards we go to the community. When we are in the community, we just bathe in the river, we have lunch, and we see the mangroves, just like you're going to be able to see here. This community lives in a mangrove ecosystem. And mangroves are tropical and subtropical ecosystems, coastal ecosystems that are between the ocean and land. And they are very important because they are basically the nurseries for the fishes of the ocean. Fishes from the ocean get inside the mangroves, and between the mangrove roots, the fishes lay their eggs. Then the babies are born, and they grow there until they have certain size, because they are protected from predators. Then they go back to the ocean. So this place is very important for the full sustainability of the place, because fishes in the ocean, the ones they eat, depend on this. Most of the mangroves are being destroyed in the world and polluted with plastic and with trash. But as you can see, this one is very pristine, is very clean, and it's because this community is very aware of the importance of the mangrove. They are very aware of why they need to protect it. And whenever someone goes there and throws plastic or trash to the mangrove, they are banned from the community. And the communities can actually, there is a very interesting like concept in Colombia to protect the communities, and is that this community owns the land. They are the owners. They are the only ones that can tell how they want the community to work, and they can actually make their own laws inside the community. But the land is isn't owned by particular people. There is no one person that owns a piece of land. It's everyone's land. So that protects them from big companies that can come and buy pieces of land, and like it makes it a community interest and not a personal interest. So also the culture in here. So what you can see is in the right hand side, you see Don Pedro. I'm going also to talk about Don Pedro later. In the middle, you have Luz Marina. They are the family that first welcomed us in this place. And we, like, I feel part of their family. They have opened us a very special place here. And I actually live in their house like for a long time. And they are beautiful people. And in the left hand side, you see Argenis, the one that was in front of the boat in the small canoe before. She's a singer. So there they have also their cultural expressions. One of them is what we call the ruca, which is basically a kind of music. But the ruca is very special because when they sing the ruca, they create their own songs, and they also have a ceremony, like 2 or 3 ceremonies per year, where all the community gathers together and they sing and they dance with this rhythm. And this is the moment when all the community gathers together and relates with each other, where the young people fall in love with each other, where they see the old people and they start like admiring them. So it's very important for the community. And in these songs that they create, they actually, it's like a book, but a song book, because they keep in their songs their history. Through their songs, they sing their history and the things, bad things or hard things, and also good things and comic things that may happen in the community. They make everything a song. So whenever they are in these ceremonies, they sing all the songs they know. And basically what they are doing is sharing the history of the community. So it's very interesting how culturally they don't have books. They have, most of them don't even know how to read or to write, but through their songs, they keep their history alive. And you're going to hear one of the rucas. So this is what Argenis says, this is the Juanito's ruca. So I'm going to let you hear this song.
Miente vengo a contarle lo que me cana pasó, que Juanito con la novia, la lancha que le quiero, Juanito y la novia, la lancha que le quiero, hay un marido, ella gritaba, pero nadie le escucha, un marina gritaba, pero nadie le escuchó, hay un marina, ella gritaba, pero nadie le escuchó, hay un marina gritaba, pero nadie le escuchó, la grita que Juanito. Pero ya sin una cerveza que no me encanta.
Okay, so I'm going to translate what she was saying. So in this song, what she's saying is, my people, I'm going to tell you what happened in Mecana. Uh, Juanito, Juanito is another character from the community. He's the son of Luz Marina and Pedro. And she said, Juanito and his girlfriend were in the river and the boat broke. So she said they were just navigating in the river and their boat just failed. And then she says, Luz Marina, which is Juanito's mom, Luz Marina was yelling, but no one listened to her. And she just repeated that and repeats that and repeats that. It's just a basic story of something that happens. Very simple, but it tells the story of the community and how the community relates with the environment, with each other, with everything. And also they have songs of war, of deaths, of people that passed away. Also, when people die, this is something very beautiful. When a person dies, all the community gathers together at their house beside the dead body, like in the coffin, and they sing all night long. They are awake all night long from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and they sing all the night. And they have special songs only for the deaths. And this is very beautiful. I had never been in a funeral like this. And when I was in that place, I was really moved. Like, it's a very beautiful way to saying goodbye to someone. They are actually awake. They don't sleep. They sing all night long. And that is, I consider that something very beautiful. They have a very beautiful culture. So this is Luz Marina. She usually doesn't like pictures, but this is one as I'm the spoiled one. Luz mas spoiled child, basically. So she just let me take the picture of her. This is Don Pedro, and Don Pedro is a very good fisherman. We always have a bet, so I want you to try and guess how old Don Pedro is. So you can write it in the messages, and when I finish, we can talk about that. So Don Pedro has a lot of experience fishing, and in this area, it's very beautiful because this area was declared by the same by the community. It was declared a protected fishing area. So basically, in the area, there is no industrial fishing. No big nets, no big boats can get to the place to harvest fishes. Only lines. They can only fish with lines. And that is something that protects the environment a lot, and also the sustainability of the community, because there are no big companies coming to get all the fishes and then they don't have food, but they can actually fish and they sell what they fish at a very good price to the cities. And then this is very sustainable in terms of environment and in terms of community economy. And Don Pedro has taught me a lot about fishing. He has taught me also how beautiful it is to be able to actually know the animal you're eating and know the place where it comes from and have a relationship with it, even though if it is only by fighting with it and having a struggle. Like this struggle, he has taught me like that struggle is actually the price you pay for to nature and to life, for having, like, for allowing this nature to give you life, to give you your sustenance, your food, your daily food, and the food for your family. So the relationship with the food in this place is very different, because you know where most of the food come from. You know that the fishes come from the ocean or the river. You know that the fruits come from the jungle. You know that there are a lot of crops that are grown there, and that the food, actually you can see how people is harvesting it. And it's a very different thing to what we are used to in the city, because in the city we go to the supermarket, we buy it, we eat it, and that's it, right? But here you have the real connection to the land, and that is something that is very beautiful also to be in this place, because you can see how you can feel part of nature. When you're eating this fish, you can realize that you are part of this ecosystem. When you're eating these plantains, you can know that you're eating something that comes from the jungle that is beside you. And then this makes you feel like more aware of the environment and the place where you are. And there are a lot of characters like Don Esteban, also a fisherman from the community, Chivito. So Chivito and Luzma, they are the women that are mainly in charge of working with us. When we go to the community, they offer lunch for the people. That also gives women the opportunity to work and to get an income. And they also have to hire more women from the community to attend all the tourists that go with us to whale watching. And also the children, which I love. I want you to just listen to them and see how they are. This place is a privileged place for children. They grow in a pristine environment where there is no danger, and they can just jump into the river, climb trees, do whatever they want. And here they were playing soccer. So I'm going to play you this
Ya.
video.
El que metió más goles fue yo, que metí como los
Yo
4
hice
goles.
3 goles. Yo hice 4.
Entonces completamos 7. A mí me hicieron 2 apenas. Porque ellos no me dejaron ni ver. Y el primero es que estaba ocupado tomando una canción.
¿Cómo se llama el equipo?
2 cholos, un moreno sería Chomore. ¿Chomore? Chomore. Porque el more fue moreno y chopo cholo.
So those were some of the kids from the community. They were just playing soccer. Mar was interviewing them. It's being a children in that place is awesome. They are very happy children that have a lot of contact with nature. So here we can see, you can see some of the team of our team. Here's Juan Jose, Mar, and me, and Don Pedro. And the children that we work with, the most of the community work we do in the area is with the children because they are, for us, the most important part of the community. So here you can see when the people just go, we sit down at Luzma's and Don Pedro's house and wait for lunch as we talk about the whales, about the environment, about the area, and also go to swim in the river and go to the mangroves. Here we have Santiago, which is one of my partners. Also, what we always want to do is to wake a smile in the faces of people, just like you see there, and to make this tour like experience that can give you an overview of nature and change your relationship with nature. We always say that when you know the history behind everything, behind anything, you can change your relationship with that because you can understand and explain. And that's why we are dedicated to tell stories, to tell stories from the whales, from the community, or about the whales, about the communities, about the nature in general, and how that make that an excuse to change our attitudes towards nature. For us, environmental education is a key part, and here you can see like how we are just seeing the mangroves and how Mar here can tell you about the whales. And just like when you're moved and touched by seeing a huge animal, you are open to listen how we can actually protect these animals and how we can protect these communities and these areas. And also it creates a change in the people who we work with. This is Hernando or Punto. They all have nicknames. So Punto is one of our captains. I really love this guy. He's an amazing person, a very, very professional guy working with us. When he started to work, his boat was very simple. But when we started to work with him, we always hired local boats and local captains. Also in the previous picture, you could see, here you see Yale in here. He's another of our captains. So when Hernando started, he didn't have a roof, he didn't have couches in his boat. But then when he started to work with us, he could actually improve his quality of life. He said, okay, I'm going to invest in my boat. And now his boat is so comfortable that everyone wants to go in the boat with him to see the whales. And also Yale, the other captain, he didn't own a boat, and now he had saved enough money to buy his own boat. So his quality of life is going to improve a lot by this. And it's not because we are giving them help or saying like, okay, we're going to save you. We just say, hey, let's work together because you have something valuable that we need. You have something valuable to give people, and we want you to help your life through your work because you're earning what you deserve to earn through your work. And that happens with Luzma, with Don Pedro, with all the people we work with. And also something we do like in this chain of tourism is we do research. So here is Santiago and me. I'm in the front looking for whale skin pieces floating in the sea, and Santiago is going to gather these skin pieces with this net in the back. So why we are gathering this? Because when we get the skin pieces of the whales, we can get genetic data, and that then with that genetic data we can do research. So what happens is that when the whales breach, they jump or they tail slap the water, some skin just gets off. So they lose some skin, and this skin is floating in the water. So that is one of the ways in which we can actually get genetic data without affecting the whales. Also, something we work with, here you see Sarah. She's one of our volunteers from last year. And besides she's very excited, she's also taking pictures because pictures are something also very important for us to do research with the whales. So basically what the pictures do, we can take pictures of the flukes of the whales, of the underside of the tail. That's what fluke means. So with these tails, with the pictures of these tails, we can actually identify individuals. We can actually identify each individual way because each tail is like a fingerprint. It's like the fingerprint of a whale. You can see that the coloration can go from completely white to completely black, and there is a lot of shades between that. So here we can get a lot of information from the whales when we have matches. Matches is to take a picture of a whale and then to take the picture of the same whale again in a different day. So here we have some, like for example, these whales that we saw on August 23rd and then August 24th. Then these two whales were staying in the area for 2 days, but it happens also in terms of months. For example, on this one we saw on August 9, and then we saw again on September 6, or in 19 of August and 28 of August. That is more than a month. Oh, sorry, no, it's less than a month. So this gives us a lot of information on how whales use the space and the area. And so far, we have identified 572 individuals of whales, different individuals, and we have 15 local matches. So just like these ones, we have 11 more whales that we have recognized that use the same area. And we have also 37 global matches, which means these whales actually share some other areas. I'm going to show you more about this. So this is an example. We share our data and our pictures with an international platform called Happy Whale. And Happy Whale, basically they receive pictures from all around the globe, and they share these pictures, they compare the pictures, and we can get a wider scale view of what the whales are doing. So for example, this whale, we saw it in 2018, but it was first saw in Ecuador in 2007, then seen in Panama in 2017, then we saw it in Chocó, and at the end it was seen in 2020, in this year, by in the Antarctic Peninsula. So it's very interesting because this way you can actually also study. Ya voy. So, tranqui. Also, so we can actually study migration, whale migration, using this in a wider scale. So that is very interesting. Why do we see the same whale from Ecuador to Panama? Because this population of whales, this same population of whales, uses the space between Peru and Costa Rica. So it's not only Colombia that receives these whales, it's also from Peru to Costa Rica. And that is very interesting because then with this we can understand how the whales use the land and the waters, like the ocean. So about results, we have a high rate of matches with Antarctica. We have also a strong connectivity with Panama because we're very close to Panama. So apparently whales come to Bahía Solano, the northern or the north of Chocó, then go to Panama, then come back here again to Panama, and males apparently look for females in all this area. And we have lower connectivity to places like Peru and Ecuador. So this is very interesting because with this, we can actually go to the government and say, hey, these whales are using this area to actually reproduce. It's an important area for the whales. And then you need to protect this, right? And actually, it's very interesting because all of this picture and all of this information is gathered thanks to tourism. Tourism is the main key to actually get all this information because it's very expensive to go out and see the whales, to do research. But always when you go whale watching, you want someone to talk to you about the whales. And we want to talk to you about the whales and also take data. So it's a win-win thing. It becomes something that benefits everyone. So okay, I have finished like this second part, and I would like you also to again give me some feedback on how you're feeling, what you have seen here, and if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Esteban, for the explanation and for showing us the work you do with Madre Agua. This is really, really great. And if you guys have questions, well, we received them. I just received one from William, and he says that when you do if they took the tour to Bahía Solano, if they can go more than once to see the whales.
If they can go, sorry, can you repeat that?
More than once, more than once, more than one
Yes, yes, of course. So what we recommend people is to go actually go more than once
time.
because that way you just have more chances to see more things. And obviously it is completely possible to go more than once. We offer different services, like for example we give tourism trips which last between 3 to 4 hours, like in the ocean looking for the whales and seeing the whales. But we also offer research trips which are more private, which are only like mostly 4 people. That is the highest amount of people we take in research trips, and they last 6 to 8 hours in the ocean. So if you want to see a lot of whales, that is the best chance, because then you have a lot of time to see it. And also when you go for a second time with us, you get a good discount, so you can actually repeat the tour and try and see what else you can see in the tours and what else you can learn.
Nice, yeah, because William, we have William, and he's a nature travel photographer. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yes, yeah, he was asking us if we can do, well, when possible, if we can do something more private. Yeah, for being more calm and to take its time to take his time to take pictures and enjoy
Of
more
course.
nature. So yes,
Of course. And we also have plans for that, because we have also private tours. Obviously, they are more expensive, but in the private tours, basically, you can do whatever you want. You can go alone if you want with just the biologist. And if you want to take pictures, we can focus on taking pictures. And also, I'm a whale photographer, so we can just be good friends out there in the ocean taking pictures of the whales. And yes, of course, everything's possible. Everything's possible when we are talking about this. In the tourism trips, well, it's more limited because there's a lot of people and many people get seasick and then we have to return. But if we are less people, it makes it easier to get like these objectives to take pictures of the whales and things like that.
yeah, so it's nice you are colleagues, photographer colleagues. So that's great. And he's also asking us, what is the population of whales in that area? If you know the number.
So, okay, so in terms of this population that I'm telling you goes from the north of Peru to Costa Rica. We have between 12,000 and 14,000 whales. But we, like to Bahía Solano, what is estimated, like a colleague of mine estimated that to the northern coast of Chocó, there is about 3,000 whales visiting each year. So
Perfect.
that is, but the population is bigger than 3,000.
Perfect. And he's also asking us, what are the biggest threats of these whales, and if there are some attacks in Colombia or some threats here in Colombia.
Yes, so they actually have a lot of threats. I'm going to show you some of them because I do have material about that. So actually, whales suffer from several things. For example, this is a picture of a ship strike. The engine, the fan of the engine caught this whale. It most probably it wasn't in Colombia, or it was in the south of Colombia, because it was a big ship that did this. You can see the scarring. Many whales died from this. This one survived and scarred very good, but many whales died from this, and you can see it's deep, and it's hard for the whale to recover from this. And this is another example of a ship strike, or maybe entanglement. Sometimes in fishing nets, whales can get entangled, and they do very bad things to the whales. Like whales can die from this. They can actually sometimes starve to death when they are covered in these fishing nets. And for a whale to die from starvation, it takes months of suffering. So it's not very pleasant thing. Like you can see here, this is an entanglement. So this whale was actually a mother that had a net on top of her head and around her head, and she had a baby that was very like bad fed. It was skinny because probably the mother couldn't feed the baby because of the net. Probably that baby died. So that is also one of the threats the whales have. The humpback whales are not hunted like other species. Japaneses and people from Norway and Russia, they hunt other species of whales, not humpback whales, because they are very valuable species for whale watching.
Thank you so
So yeah.
much for the response. And yes, regarding to that, yesterday we had someone who worked with who was a diver, you know, a scuba diver master, and he was telling us she was a woman that she saw a whale with a net, and he was asking me if there is something that can be done to take out these nets or these things that are affecting them.
Well, yes, there are things you can do, but it's not recommended to act unless you have experience with the whales because they can be dangerous, especially when they are stressed. If a whale is stressed, then you get in the water with the whale, and it doesn't, it may not mean to hurt you, but a small movement of a whale can be very dangerous for us because we're very small beside them. So what you can do actually, well, I have been in several workshops regarding whale entanglements, and you always need to assess the situation first to see if the whale is in danger, in a real danger, because sometimes they are entangled, but they can survive with the net in their bodies, or they can just jump and take it away. So if it's not affecting the whale very strongly, like to death, it's better not to act. But if you see that the whale is in danger, like this one we saw, you need to assess how easy it is to take the net off. For example, with this one, we didn't get in the water, we didn't act because there were around 4 males, angry males, around this female. So in this case, it's not very smart to get in the water. So you need to put the people's life before whale's life. That is a rule that is always going to happen in these cases, even though if you say I would die for the whale, well, it's not very smart to do that, right? So the best thing I think you can do for this not to happen is always to ask yourself where your food comes from. If it comes from sustainable fishing, or if it comes from industrial fishing, because industrial fishing use very large nets that cause this, right? So also that is some way in which we can help actually this situation from our homes.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for those were the questions, and thank you so much for the responses.
Okay, no, you're welcome. So let me ask you for a moment to go to the bathroom and to get some more water. It's going to be 1 minute and I'll be right back.
Perfect. So, well, basically, it's really interesting to support this kind of projects because, as you saw, they work with the community, and well, it's with the funds we are receiving, we are trying to support this research because it employs locals, you know, and they don't really depend on us, or many people ask us if if they are if they are struggling, if they are having a lot of problems with this COVID-19 issue. But what I can tell is that it's that they have food, they have all the resources because this community, the community Esteban was mentioning, is self-sustainable. They plant the food, they have the water. So it's really interesting, this kind of interactions in the area. So if you have questions to us, if you have questions to me as well, I receive them about community work and stuff. But I also want to tell that many communities we work with, for example, in the Amazon, in the jungle, when they are alone, when they are far from the cities and from us, when they are far from the virus, in this case, they have their food. You know, they can live on their own supplies, on their own work. Sometimes they need cooking oil or they need other supplies, but they can survive, and they are having a real the COVID-19 is not really an issue for them in places which are really far from the society. In places like Bahía Solano, in towns, well, it's more difficult because people is more together. You can see many people in a single area. So well, it's really interesting to see this. And well, we are waiting for go back to those kind of places. If you have questions to me as Outlanders, I also can tell. Thank you so much, Jessica. I send you our mail and everything. And yes, this kind of sustainable projects are the ones we want to support. And here is Esteban back again on action.
Here I am.
That's awesome, Edwin. Thank you. Hey, I did wanted to ask, and maybe I missed this, but where do most of the funds that people pay for the tours, where do most of the funds go to? And if the communities are self-sustainable, where does the money, where do they use it on, or housing or education?
Very interesting question, and thank you for asking that question. So in terms of tourism, what we do, like we are an organization, a tourism agency that doesn't use the resources to distribute between the partners of the company. What we use is we reinvest everything we have, and we reinvest it in different things. Like, for example, education to the community, or equipment for the research, or to research trips, or we also use it, for example, to organize the touristic paths in the community. So all the area that the tourists and the locals use, we give this money to the people so they can actually fix the areas of the community that they need to fix, like bridges or things like that. And also, well, we for the community, when they get this income, even though they are self-sustainable, there are some things they now like need to do besides this, because now as the world is changing, for example, most of them use this income to reinvest in their own houses, or creating more spaces for the or more suitable spaces for the tourists to be, like building more bathrooms or building another room so the tourists can stay at their house and they can get more income. And also investing in education. For example, Luzma and Don Pedro, with the work we do, this income they spend it paying for the college of their granddaughter. So actually they know how to invest, and we have worked with this a lot, because many people just spend this money in alcohol and a TV, right? And that's not what we want. So we actually have taught them how to reinvest their money to improve their quality of life, which doesn't mean to get out of the place, but to actually use what they have to improve the place and the area and to protect the area. So that is the way in which we work. And this has worked very good, very well, because as you see, well, the people we work with is very aware of what they want and how they can improve their life quality just by working with us. And we also
Yeah.
to happen.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Just one last question. Is there a goal? Does the community or you guys have a goal of funds you want to reach, or is it just as business comes in, funds are reinvested? What's the
Well,
strategy there, I guess?
yeah. So far, we are just doing the last thing you said. Like as funds come, we just use them, right? As we are not funded by anyone, we are not funded by any organization or personal, but we are just a company that is working with tourism, and the income we get with tourism, we use it in these funds. So now what we are doing is we are creating a foundation, an NGO that is we are going to work beside, like parallel to the tourism agency. And what we are going to do is we're going in the NGO be in charge of this, and also to create projects for which we want to do like a goal to set goals and income goals or fund goals, so we can get income, external income, not only the income we get from tourism, because in these times tourism is just depleting, is going down, and we want to still continue working. And as we cannot do it from tourism, this NGO is going to allow us to get funds from other sources and continue working.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Esteban, William is asking us about the whale season, and how do you guys, or how people survive when it's not whale season?
Okay, so we basically survive only with what we get in the whale season, because tourism in the other months is very scarce. So basically, out of the season, that's the way people have worked in the area for many years. They work very harshly in the whale season, and then they get income, and they save money to live the rest of the year. That's basically what we also do. And well, basically, I'm the only one working full time in the project. And then what we are doing now is we're creating strategies to improve or to encourage tourism in other times, because Bahía Solano, as I'm going to show you next, is not only whales. There are things that are amazing all year long. And this year we were going to start taking people to see whale sharks, because whale sharks arrive in Bahía Solano in a different season than the whales. So when the whale sharks arrive, it is between February and May. So there's also 3 or 4 months span in which we can actually encourage tourism to happen, and no one offers tourism with whale sharks there, because no one knows there is, like in the cities or the tourists, no one knows there are whale sharks there, and there's no one offering them. So we're starting to do this, and we had several trips planned, and we also have research projects with a colleague of mine that she's also a biologist, but she's expert not in whales, but in whale sharks. So we were going to do a whole project around whale sharks to get people, to give people, local people, the opportunity to have work, and also ourselves to have work during other times beside whale season.
Okay, thank you. Hope we have solved your doubts, William and Jessica. Thank you. And if you have more doubts, just let me know.
Okay, so.
Hey, Esteban, following up on what you said, something that came up was the lashback on people saying perhaps how intrusive it is for the whales and their ecosystem to have people around. I know in the video you said that they feel very comfortable with having people around. I guess like my question is, at what point is it intrusive? I got to see the whale sharks in Philippines, in Cebu. And yeah, it was very mixed on people saying it was bad that we were there because we're in their area, versus people saying, well, we're contributing to funding and research for them. What's the feedback of that in Colombia, and then having people in these tours?
Excellent. I love that question because this is a very important question in terms of conservation. And is that we need to be aware that tourism is an activity that can have a very big impact on nature. And that's why tourism needs to be done properly, right? So with whales I don't talk about this topic in here, but we have protocols to approach the whales, and we have education for our captains, we have education for the local people to on how to approach the whales in a way in which they don't feel as affected. So we have several strategies. We have several strategies, and by learning in this process of being with them, we have been able to understand more when they are feeling disrupted, because sometimes, even though if we follow all the lines or all the protocols, even though doing that, sometimes they feel stressed. In those moments, what we say is we are not going to stay with this whale because we can clearly see that this whale is stressed, so we leave in those cases. But most of the times when you follow the protocol properly, and the protocol is the next, like some of the things of the protocol. When you see a whale, you see the blow, right? You start approaching the whale at a speed, but before you get to 400 meters away from the whale, you need to start lowering down the speed, lowering the speed. So the whale, it's just common sense. Whenever, if you're underwater and you hear a boat approaching you at full speed, obviously you're going to feel threatened. But if you feel the boat is approaching and slowing the speed, and then you know when, so we also never approach the whales directly. We approach them from the side, and then we get to the side of the whale and we start moving beside the whale, always keeping a 100-meter distance. So when the whale realizes we lower the speed, and also we didn't surpass the distance of 100 meters, and that we are not approaching them, like after 200 meters, we approach them like more uh, um, slowly and from the side. So they are basically, they basically don't feel threatened. They feel, okay, there's a boat there, but nothing's happening with this boat. I cannot even see it. I know it's there because I hear it, but it's not going against me, it's not going directly to me. So, well, it's okay. The whales continue their path. Sometimes mothers with their babies are more vulnerable to this, and mothers sometimes just get scared and start running away. In those cases is when we say, okay, we're leaving. But in most of the cases, this is enough for the whales to say, okay, this is okay. And in most of the cases, they just start, in cases of adult groups, they start ignoring us. They don't care about us because we are not attacking them. So they can come actually very close to us. In those cases, we don't run away because that's more dangerous for the whales. They just pass by, and it's just like if we weren't there. And sometimes actually they get curious about us. They come close to us and they watch us. Obviously, this is an interaction, and this is an affectation to their behavior. But also, what I consider is that in terms of conservation, and especially in places like this where we have a very pristine environment, we need to realize that we are also part of nature, right? And in this place, whale watching is the way in which most families survive, like come in terms of the community. So not doing whale watching would affect a lot of humans, and I consider that humans must be always considered inside the conservation equation, because if we are not considered inside conservation equations, then we are not doing something realistic, because we are also animals. We are part of the ecosystem. We are part of nature. We are part of this. So there's always going to be an affectation, but then we need to decide, as we are conscious of it, we need to decide and be aware of how or what the affectation we are going to do is going to be. And that's why I tell people, we are part of nature, but we can decide how we are going to relate with this nature. So let's decide to do it the best possible way we can. And with the whale sharks, we don't want to do massive tourism. we actually don't want to approach the sharks. We were going to try a different approach than what I've seen in most of the companies, tourism companies working with whale sharks. What we were going to do is to, as they are feeding there, we look for the big bowls or schools of fish. We find the school of fish, we get in the water, set a line, and then we were going to have people holding to that line, not approaching the shark, but seeing how the sharks from a distance feed underwater. So that's what we were going to do and try and see how this could affect the sharks. In previous experiences, we've seen that actually sharks there are also very curious, and they usually approach us when we get in the water, even if we are far away from them, because they have never seen people before. So also, this is something we want to do step by step. We are not doing massive offerings on this because we don't want, actually we didn't offer it with any agency. We just gathered a few tourists to see, okay, we are going to check and see how this could work. If it doesn't work, we don't have compromises with anyone. If we see this is going to affect the sharks a lot, we are not going to continue doing this. So as we are biologists, we always love the animals we work with, and the conservation is like something very, very important for us. It's like major thing. Like sometimes they say, but why do you care that much about the whale? It's because I love them. I love them, so I want them to be all right. So yes, that topic of tourism versus conservation is a very important topic, and that whenever we start these tourism projects, this is like the main guideline. Our guideline is how we're going to affect the animal, right? And how if this affectation is going to be positive or negative, because also if we add to the equation humans, we say, okay, maybe for example with the turtles, when we encourage tourism with the turtles, some guides are manipulating them and this can affect them. But also when the guides are included, then they start getting an income from turtles, and then as they have an income, they are aware of conservation and they stop eating the turtle eggs. So this, in terms of an equation where humans are integrated, maybe a small affectation can happen when a guide can manipulate a baby turtle than to leave it in the beach. But then the positive affectation that is going to happen is higher. So then also in terms of conservation, we always need to measure all this. It's a very complex thing and also very subjective in some terms. But we have seen a very, very special improvement in how not only our captains, but the people that also work with whale watching in the area have changed their attitudes towards the whales, because because we have shared the knowledge with them, they now have an awareness on how to make the whales feel more comfortable, and they now know that makes for a much better whale watching tour. So now they are just doing it. They are just doing responsible whale watching without knowing it, without no one telling them, hey, you cannot do this, because they have seen how it works and how like the benefits it can give them.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Esteban. No more questions for now.
You're welcome. I extended a little bit in this question, but it's because I consider it something important that didn't add to the presentation. But thank you,
Really
Jessica, for that question.
Yeah,
Yes, it's very important.
it's very important to create these spaces. Fortunately, we have this space, and thank you so much for bringing on that question, Jessica. That was very important.
Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to show you that Bahía Solano and Chocó is not only whales. Whales, well, I love them. I love them, like I get nuts for the whales. But also there is a lot of nature associated to the place that is amazing to witness. So we have, first I'm going to start talking about birds. In Colombia, we have the highest diversity of birds in the world. And when you get here, Like birds are something amazing. This is a giant woodpecker. If you ever saw this cartoon of the crazy woodpecker, I don't know the name in English, that had like ha 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 ha, that character is actually inspired in this species. And we can see this species there in Bahía Solano. We have a lot of kingfishers. This is an Amazon kingfisher. We have also very, very beautiful birds, like birds there are stunning. This is a honey creeper, uh, red-legged honey creeper. I'm not an expert on birds, but I know some names. And this is a male, and they are just beautifully glowing bluebirds. You can see here, they are amazing, and you can see them very easily in the area. So for bird watchers, Bahía Solano is also a special place. Also, if you have what we call a tanager, and multicolor tanager. I don't know if that's the name in English, but I think it doesn't really matter a lot. But you can see how beautiful the colors of the birds in the area are. This is another woodpecker. And they are very easy to find, very easy to see. You just need to have lunch and see a lot of birds arriving to the place where you're having lunch. You don't even have to move or walk miles, miles and miles to see beautiful birds. They are just around. This is the female or of the honey creeper. And also in the sea, we have a lot of birds. The first one I showed you were, they were boobies. They were brown boobies, the species of boobies we see the most in the ocean. We also have, this is a seagull, a small species of seagull, and those are frigate birds. So why they are following the seagull? Because the seagull has a fish in the mouth. And these giant frigate birds are pirates. They cannot get wet even though they eat fish. Because if they got wet, they wouldn't be able to fly, they would die. So as they cannot dive into water, unlike seagulls, they steal fishes or food from other birds, and that's why they were following this bird. So it's an amazing behavior. It's like very amazing to see this also. As you're seeing whales, not only the whales is happening, also birds are happening to be around and are happening to be doing some amazing stuff. So birds are also very interesting animals to see in the area. This is another small bird. Like really, I could show you pictures of birds all day long. This is a giant kingfisher that lives in front of Don Pedro's house, and it's always fishing in the river. Like we can see it every day. Every day we go there, it's taking a sunbath. And also there's a lot of parrots. There's also macaws in the area. We can see it's not that often that we see them, but well, in Colombia, macaws are something common. In Medellin, I can actually see them from my window. They just pass flying by. And those are stunning birds. Birds that have, like this one is not a very good picture, but this is a very famous bird. It's called a mannequin. And if you've seen documentaries in National Geographic or things like that, there's a bird that dances like Michael Jackson. Well, this is the bird. This is the Michael Jackson bird. And we can also see them, and we can find their legs, which are the breeding places where the males dance. Also birds, well, they are very cute and very, very amazing animals. And not only birds, when we go to the jungle, we can find many other animals like reptiles, like snakes. There are a lot of snakes in the area also, but also very famous frogs. This is a frog we call Ofaga. It's a venomous frog, but let me tell you, venomous frogs are not dangerous because they don't attack or anything, and the poison only uh, makes you, or is effective when it gets to your blood. So as long as you don't touch it, nothing's going to happen. And even though you can put it on your skin, and if you don't have a cut or anything, nothing will happen to you. Then you can wash your hands with soap, nothing happens. So they are beautiful small frogs, very beautiful, and we have several species of these frogs, very colorful and also very attractive. Many people like are specialists or that have this hobby or of seeing frogs come from all over the world only to see these frog species. and even some bird species, because we have a lot of endemic species and bird watchers. It's a place, amazing place for bird watchers, because they can have a lot of endemic species in the area and see many unseen species only in this place. And coming back to the ocean, we also have a lot of marine life. This is a sea turtle. It's actually an olive ridley sea turtle, which is the most common sea turtle species we see. And actually they nest in the area. So another attraction of the place is to go and see these turtles nesting, and to see and to release the baby turtles to the ocean. So the females come here when, if you didn't know, well, the sea turtles always lay their eggs in the same beach where they were born, but then they travel all the world and then come back to the same place where they were born to lay their eggs. So protecting the beaches is very important, because when a beach is lost, a lot of, like, the place for a lot of turtles to nest is also lost. So not only the turtles come here to lay their eggs, they only come here to make their eggs and to have some fun. So what you can see here is we see a lot of sea turtles in the ocean when we are like, seeing the whales. In some moment, they just pop up, and we can even find them mating. So what you see is in the bottom, there's a female. In the top, you have a male. We can recognize males because they have several uh, adaptations to copulate. For example, this nail you see here is special from males. Only males have it. And as you can see, the female doesn't have it anywhere. And the fact is that they use it to grab the female and to be able to copulate with her. Also, the males have a very long tail, which they use to grab the female from behind also. And they have the bottom of their shell is actually concave. So it's basically, it has this shape to adapt its body to the female shell. So it's very, very interesting also to see all these animals that we can see there. We can also see sea snakes in the water, a lot of, also we can see sharks, and the area has, as I told you, whale sharks, manta rays. So this place is basically a natural aquarium if you are lucky enough to see all these things. And other thing I want to talk to you about is about other marine mammals. So in Bahía Solano, we also have many other marine mammals, just like this one. These are dolphins, particularly bottlenose dolphins. Bottlenose dolphins, as the whales, with the whales, we use the flukes or the tails to photo identify them, but with dolphins, we use the dorsal fins, like these ones. You see that each dorsal fin is different and has different scars. They bite each other. That's why they get these lines, these scarred lines. In bottlenose dolphins, dolphin is the most common or the most well-known dolphin species, because, well, they are a lot in captivity, but there we can find them free roaming in the ocean. And actually, when we leave Mecana, the community in front of the river, we just get a lot of dolphins sometimes. We can see them from the beach. They are very interesting animals to watch. They are very big. They can be as big as 5 or 6 meters long, and they are always in groups between 1 to 12 individuals, so usually small groups. And it's very interesting because dolphins have, well, I'm not going to talk very deeply about any of these animals. I'm going to show you, but dolphins have something very interesting. If you didn't know, they can actually use names. It's not that they call each other's with names, like to call others, but to call themselves. Like, for example, if you ever saw Pokemon, each Pokemon has their name, and Pikachu says Pikachu, Pikachu all the time. Basically, dolphins do the same. For the others to recognize them, they have what we call signature whistles, which are vocalizations that indicate that they are there to their peers. And I want you to hear some of the dolphin vocalizations. So those are what we call whistles. Probably a signature whistle of one individual. And also you can hear the clicks which they use to echolocate. They use it to navigate in like underwater. It's basically a sonar that they use. Whales don't have sonars. Whales don't have echolocation, but dolphins do. Okay, so I hope you could hear it well. How did it sound, Edwin? Did it sound all right?
It was great.
Awesome. So, okay, so that's about bottlenose dolphins. Also, we find this is the most common dolphin species we find. This is the spotted dolphin. So the spotted dolphins are amazing. Also, they are smaller than bottlenose dolphins, and they have spots, white spots on their skin. So they are very beautiful. The younger ones don't have spots. They only get them when they are older. And they usually are in groups, in bigger groups. So we can actually find groups of hundreds of dolphins, thousands of dolphins. That is something very, very amazing to watch. Also a show of nature that when you see that and they are jumping all around, you just say, well, aquariums are not as good as I thought. And they also come very close to us, and we can see them. Well, here I'm not underwater. I just got my camera underwater as they approached us. So also it's very interesting also to see these dolphins. They are very beautiful animals, and we can also listen to them. So what you're hearing, that's the dolphin. It's just like birds. Sounds like birds, like whistles of birds. And also the trrrr, that's the click. Okay, so let's move on to our next character, which is all of these animals are animals that we've seen. It doesn't mean that those are the only marine mammals we have. We have more, but those are the ones we have spotted through the years we've been working. This one you're seeing here is called a false killer whale. And why false? Because when they are underwater, like their heads underwater, and they get their dorsal fins out, they look like a female killer whale. That's why they were named after killer whales. And as you can see, these animals have a very rounded head. It's not like dolphins that have like the nose, a big nose. No, these ones have a roundy face. And actually they can be very big, 6-7 meters long, and they are predators. They usually eat fish or shrimp. No, not shrimp, sorry. Mm, Squids. They also eat squids, but they have also been seen hunting dolphins. So they are big predators, and it's very interesting. These animals are amazing. They have a very, very intense personality. And I also have a video of them underwater. You're going to hear it later. So you can see this one, actually this animal approached our hydrophone, which is the instrument we use to listen to them underwater, and basically took the hydrophone and got it in its mouth and started vocalizing. So we got some amazing sound that I'm going to show you later, like in right now. So we have this. So I hope you enjoy it. It's very interesting. That's one of my favorite recordings of dolphins we have. Actually, false killer whales are dolphins also, just like killer whales. Killer whales are also the biggest species of dolphin there is. They are basically not whales, like in definite terms. So yes, this recording is very impressive, and you can notice here that there were different sounds made by a single individual, and that's what we call biphony, which means that an animal that can vocalize doing two different sounds at the same time. So this is also another species we see. It's very hard to photograph this species, and also very hard to record them. We've tried and we haven't been able to record them. But you can see this is a species of dolphin we call the rough-toothed dolphin, and they don't have a rounded head. They do have a nose, but they don't have a rounded head like the other dolphins. It's more plain. So that's why how we recognize this species is very beautiful species, but we don't have a lot of pictures of recordings of them because they are very fast and very hard to photograph. And also another one that is one of my favorites of the marine mammals in the area we've seen is the sperm whale. So in Colombia, we also have sperm whales, and yet we have to discover a lot about these animals because I'm strongly convinced that we have a resident population there, but we don't have evidence of that yet. So basically what we've seen is males. Males usually migrate from the poles to the temperate areas, to here, for example, to the tropical areas. And the females stay all year long in the tropical areas where they actually nurse their babies. They are very extreme animals. They are huge. Males can be 20 meters long. Females usually grow to 9 meters, 10 meters long. So males can be bigger than humpback whales. And here we have the body of a sperm whale. Look from behind. So this one's the dorsal fin, and then this is the head. And as you can see, it has a blowhole, as I showed you before with the humpback whales, but it's tilted to a side. And that is one of the characteristics of the sperm whales, that they actually have a blowhole, but a little bit to the side, to the left side of the whale. So it's very interesting because sperm whales are the biggest predator on Earth. They are they have the biggest brain in the world, and so they are extreme animals. They are amazing animals to see. Here I have a video of the day when we saw this sperm whale. And as you can see, the dorsal fin is very rounded, different to that of humpback whales. And here you can see the blowhole to the left side, and you can see the size of these blowholes. They are huge.
Sí, el más grande.
And as they dive very deep, dive up to 2 meters down, and they can hold their breaths to up to an hour. So when they come to the surface, they stay like this. They don't move quite a lot in the surface. They stay in the surface and breathe for about 10 to 30 minutes. And then when they go diving, they can dive between 30 minutes and 1 hour. So are very interesting animals to watch and to witness. And here I have also a recording of the sperm whales. So what you're hearing is the clicks of a sperm whale, and they use these clicks to communicate and also to echolocate. So they basically produce a sound and they can analyze the echo of that sound to like get an image of what's happening around. And actually they use it to hunt. So if you hear to this click, it's touch. If it that is the echo they actually analyze, and their brains can interpret to navigate around. So you can see the difference of the rate of the clicks. So before it was doing a click separated with a longer period of time. It's because those were navigation clicks. When they are just roaming around and they don't want to hit a rock, they just do then wait a moment, another. But when they are looking for food, they do this. It's more often that they click. And then when they find something interesting, they start clicking faster. So we can actually know how they are eating only by listening to them. So now we know, okay, there's nothing interesting around, so it's not clicking anymore. And then only by listening to them, we can try to understand what's happening underwater to them. Okay, so we've got to our last part, but before starting this, I would like to hear your questions and what you have interpreted of this other animals we've seen.
Well, thank you so much, Esteban. And as you have seen, there is much more than whales in Bahía Solano. So for now, let me see if there are questions. No. William just congratulates the tour. He says he is enjoying it and he just expects to visit it soon personally.
Great, William, and there we're going to be to receive you anytime you want to come and whenever we can. So it's great. I'm glad this made you want to go to the place and visit and know all these things that are happening there.
Okay, well, yeah, and we are just going to do the last part, Jessica, in case you have some time. And yes, no more questions, Esteban. Thank you so much.
Okay, so this is the last part. We're not going to take too long for this, but I want you to spend only 5 minutes listening to this that I'm going to play. So just get comfortable. If you want to close your eyes, if you want to do whatever you want, just get comfortable and try and enjoy this sound. guys. So I hope you enjoyed this meditation time. I'm going to take you out of your reflection inner thoughts to start talking to you about these songs. So humpback whale songs are something very special, and particularly for me, they were what brought me to everything I do in my life right now. Because when I was a kid and listening to this, just moved me inside so much that well, there was like this seed of curiosity inside of me because whenever I listened to humpback whales, something inside me happened and I couldn't stop crying and shaking because I don't know, there was something so beautiful I couldn't understand. And at the end, this is where I ended up working with the whales and with their songs. So the songs are not only important because like for the whales, but only also we have as humans have big and deep connections with this because there is no explanation on why or how, but most people feel very deeply or have very deep feelings whenever we listen to humpback whale songs. Even our brains change when we're listening to them. They are very special, and even they are special for the protection of the whales. We as humans hunted whales for decades and for centuries even, and they were about to get extincted until in the 60s, in the late 60s, songs were discovered. It was discovered that humpback whale sing. And whenever people start knowing that humpback whale sings and listening to this, they start moving against, like there was a global movement against against whale hunt. So whale hunting and fishing was forbidden in the 86 thanks to the movements that arise after the humpback whale songs were spread and heard by many people. So they are very special. And I want to show you, I'm going to leave this on. I want to show you presentation. I'm going to change screen. This is sorry. This doesn't. Okay, are you seeing my presentation?
Sí, está, sí.
Okay. So basically I'm going to explain you a little bit further what's happening here, what we are listening to about the humpback whale songs. And is that we actually call them a song because they have a structure. It's not only that they sing random things, they are very special, very special. So I'm going to explain you the structure and the composition of the song. Basically, I'm going to show you each sound as a different shape. So this square is basically a type of sound, and to each sound, we call it a unit. So each sound is a different unit, and they sing different units one after the other, right? To form what we call a phrase. So a phrase, after a phrase, there is a silence, and the phrase is repeated, then repeated again, to form what we call a theme. And then a song is composed of several themes that form a song, right? So it's basically a structure that resembles a lot of human songs. So we as humans have words that make up phrases, phrases that make up themes, and themes that make up whole songs. So it's basically, it's very, very alike, right? And it's very complex. So whales just don't stop there because they don't stop to sing one song and that's it. A song of a humpback whale can be between 5 to 30 minutes, but whenever they stop to sing, they sing over and over and over and over the same song to create what we call a song session. And the longest song session ever recorded for a humpback whale was 22 hours. So they actually spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, and you see, to create this structure, they need to have a special place in their brains to actually create this structure. So songs are important for them, but we don't know why. We don't know the exact reason why they sing. It is important to know that as far as we know, only the males sing, and they sing mainly in breeding grounds, like in Colombia, but they also sing in the migration routes or the feeding grounds, like in Antarctica, but not as much as they sing here. So the fact is that all the whales within a population, that's to say between Peru and Costa Rica, all the whales are singing the same song. They are singing exactly the same song. But the fact is that that song is not the same all the time. It changes, it evolves. And the fact is that whenever a single male changes the song, at the end, this change is going to spread through the entire population and all the whales are going to end up singing the same. And that is one of the best evidences we have of non-human animal culture. So there is culture in humpback whales, and this culture is expressed through their songs. So for me, that is one of the biggest mysteries on this world, and that is what I dedicate my research to study humpback whale songs, because they are very mysterious to me. So to show you a little bit about how they sing, well, whenever a humpback whale is underwater, they cannot exhale because they would lose valuable air. We as humans need to exhale in order to produce sound. And most land mammals need to do that. But humpback whales developed a different kind of strategy to sing underwater without losing air. So they have this sac that we call the laryngeal sac that is in the base of the larynx. And then here there is the blowhole where they inhale, the mouth channel, and then this channel takes to the lungs. What they do is they pass air from the lungs to the laryngeal sac and from the laryngeal sac to the lungs. And there are these membranes called the vocal folds. They are not vocal cords, but they are analog to them. So here, through these membranes, the air passes and the sound is produced, but not exhaled, not wasted. There is a recirculation of air, and that's how they can hold their breaths and at the same time sing. So when they are singing, they need to come up to breathe every about 20 minutes. But as they are breathing, they exhale, inhale, and then produce sound and continue singing. It's not that they stop to come up to breathe, they continue singing and singing. So let me share again the other screen to show you the last thing I would like to show you. Sorry. This one. Okay. So here I want to show you the structure. Like to finish, I want you to notice in the song the structure that I told you about. So this is basically a representation of sound. We call it a spectrogram. And as we are more visual than we have more visual capacities than acoustic capacities as humans, then I want to show you how it looks like how the song looks drawn. So in the left, in the y-axis, you're going to see the frequency, And then everything that passes through the y-axis is what you're going to hear. So just here, this is a unit, another unit that repeats, and a different one. Then it starts again. One unit, the same, then another unit. Then it starts all over. So this, from this to here, it is a phrase. Then it repeats it again, and after it finishes the whole theme, it will change. So look how it changes, how the theme changes from one to another. This is a new unit, so it means it changed theme. And this is how the song structure unfolds. And so this is the last part of our presentation. And I would like first to thank you for joining this meeting and for supporting our projects like this that we are doing with the children and with the people in the community, for supporting our research work and everything we do. Thank you very much, because thanks to you, we can dream big and we can dream to do great things and to help the environment and the people in the area. So thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Now I would like to hear you. If William, you're the only one here, so if you want to share something, and yeah, so thank you very much.
I'm here too.
Well, Esteban, thank you very much for your presentation. It really was a great amount of information. A lot of things I didn't know about whales or dolphins or many things. I have been to that area several times, although not in Solano, but in Bahía, Malaga, and Huanchaco, and that yes, and I've seen them, and it's beautiful as well. But I look forward to join you in one of your trips. I love photography, so it would be awesome to be able to take some of those beautiful shots you're showing us today. So thank you very much for all the time, all the information, and especially all your dedication to the people and the communities. That's very, very important. And
No,
thank you, Edwin, for making it possible every weekend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, William, for joining us every weekend on this trip. Thanks, Esteban, for showing us this as well. I am learning and enjoying every trip as well.
Okay, so to everyone that is seeing this recording in not on live but recorded, thank you very much for this. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed. And in case you have any question or you want to learn anything else, just write us through Instagram, Gmail, or any other media you can find. And we'll be looking forward to hear from you. And also remember that at the end of this of all these talks, we're going to give as a gift some agendas that were given to us. So pay attention to the social media in Outlanders and Madre Agua to see if you were the one chosen. But in any case, we're going to send you the email. Okay. So thank you very much for joining again, and we'll see each other, I hope, in Bahía Solano.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Well, let me know when is your next trip, the first trip, actually right after the things are over, the crisis is over. I would like to be there. So please let me know.
Yeah, of course, we're going to let you know.
Okay, bye-bye everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Making it possible.